Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om. Shri 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 Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Pranam, Pranam. The chanting session was successfully over.
Yes, Swamiji.
Very good, very good. How much time it took?
No, Swamiji. It took around 2.5 hours only. Swamiji, it took 2.5 hours.
Okay. So we will try to go back again, the same words. The most inspiring words of Papa, no? We should be at the background whenever we take up. Why should we take up study of Bhagavad Gita? According to somebody, 5,000 years back, this incident had happened where the Lord chose to give this discourse to Arjuna in the battlefield. We are now altogether different, in a setup. What was 5,000 years ago and what is now, it is totally different. Then why should we learn? This is the basic question that should come to us first. Papa answers first. The book that we have to thoroughly read and understand is our own heart. To help us in such reading, we have to frequently, daily, go through the grandest work of the Bhagavad Gita. Make this book your life's companion, and it will never fail you. Be a devotee, be a karma yogi, as set forth in the Gita. He also says, the Bhagavad Gita is a veritable mosaic of eternal wisdom. It has not left unsolved a single problem pertaining to the conduct of human life, both in its spiritual and physical spheres. For the highest truths of philosophy, and also for the highest truths of philosophy, and also for a perfect light on the practical side of life, one has to go through this one, great one. The message of the entire Gita is to reveal the harmony and identity of the soul with God and of God with nature. The message of the entire Gita is to reveal the harmony. The message of the entire Gita is to reveal the harmony and identity of the soul with God and God with nature. The purpose of the Gita is to proclaim that human life is essentially divine, spiritually, mentally, physically. Its one aim is to prove that spirit and matter are one and the same. Activity in the world, whatever form it might take, as circumstances and conditions demand, is not a thing to be shunned or renounced. What is needed is to divinize life through the attainment of freedom from the individual sense, by the emergence of it into God, who is at once the soul, the universe, the all-transcendent, all-inclusive truth. Gandhiji says, Gita is the universal mother. She turns away nobody. Her door is wide open to anyone who knocks. A true votary of the Gita does not know what disappointment is. He ever dwells in perennial joy and peace that passeth understanding. But that peace and joy come not to the skeptic or to him who is proud of his intellect or learning. It is reserved only for the humble in spirit who bring to her worship a fullness of faith and undivided singleness of mind. There never was a man who worshipped her in that spirit and went back disappointed. Swami Chinmayananda says, the Bhagavad Gita is a piece of art of strange beauty, and it stands apart from everything else. It is a class by all itself. It is liquid poetry expounding solid philosophy. In the lucidity of its meter, it crystallizes some of the rarest gems of moral and spiritual values. Its breezy discourses have a firm style. You see the paradoxical statement. The fluidity of its eloquence falls like a merciful rain upon every broken personality, making it whole by its magic touch. It is not a book of science, and yet it is very scientific in its approach to the theme. It is not the airy nothingness of familiar philosophical discourses, and yet all philosophies seem to meet within its ample stretch. We find Krishna repeatedly goading his friend with the word, get up and fight. This need not necessarily mean that the Gita is a warmongering scripture of the ruling class. It is a call to each one of us to get up and fight the battle of our own lives according to our own vasana, so that we may exhaust them, thus gain inner purity. Man's vision, Chidananda Maharaj says, man's vision has two defects. Man's vision is directed upon names and forms, and he fails to perceive that which the names and forms hide. His vision is always directed outward, and therefore he fails to perceive that which is inside, that which is more immediate, nearer. Turn the gaze within. Thus admonishes the Gita wisdom teaching in the 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Your vision is outside, O man, therefore you do not perceive me, who am shining in the chambers of your heart. Turn the gaze within, then you will become instantly aware of me. That's the Lord says. Paramahansa Yogananda says, the entire knowledge of the cosmos is packed into the Gita. Supremely profound, yet couched in revelatory language of pervasive beauty and simplicity, the Gita has been understood and applied on all levels of human endeavor and spiritual striving, sheltering a vast spectrum of human beings with their desperate natures and needs. Whenever one is on the way back to God, Gita will shed its light on that segment of the world. Papa again says, Gita's message is primarily to the man of the world, who according to it need not renounce the active life and its relations with the world, but can divinize all his actions by a complete dedication of himself in his entire being, both as the immortal soul and as the active worker in the field of Prakriti. Sri Krishna holds yogic action as superior to renunciation of action. While the latter signifies a partial denial of life, the former denotes the transformation of the whole life into the very expression of the Godhead by raising the ignorant soul from human to his illumined divine, eternal nature. So many are there, but we are not reading everything. It was God's grace that I could have an opportunity to offer this humble service to the Gita. This is the preface to the book Talks on the Gita. The place of Gita in my life is unique. She is always there to help me in need. I have strived in these talks to explain the meaning of the Gita as I have understood it. Here I have not concerned myself with the literal meaning of the verse. Rather, there is a reflection on the essence of every chapter. The use of scientific terminology has been kept to the minimum, even while retaining the scientific approach. You will not find herein any academic discourse unrelated to life. I am confident that even ordinary laborers could find solace and peace herein. Wherever these talks have reached, they have motivated people to purify. The talks on the Gita is the story of my life. And it is also my message. So we will again go back to the purpose of going through what had occurred 5,000 years ago is made clear by Papa in a simple word. That the book that we have to thoroughly read and understand is our own heart. To help us in such reading, we have to frequently, nay daily, go through the grandest work, the Bhagavad Gita. Make this book your life companion, and it will never fail you. Be a devotee, be a karma yogi, as that quote in the Gita. These two words, be a devotee, be a karma yogi. Bhakti has been elaborately discussed right from second chapter onwards. And more so in the 12th chapter. So there in that 8 slokas, the Lord defines who is my dearest devotee. Papa is asking all of us, on the Gita Jayanti day especially, be a devotee. There is a definition there for a devotee. Not that what we have understood by the word devotee. Be a karma yogi. In the 3rd, 4th and 5th, he elaborately discusses.
Daily Bhagavad Gita Parikshana, none of us can understand the language. We have to read some translation only. Isn't it?
One slogan.
So only the translation of the sloga only we can read. There is no point in just reading the Sanskrit sloga which none of us can understand.
Do manan, no? We are reading it for the sake of reading our heart. That should be borne in mind. That means know myself. No? If that is there in the background, yesterday we were telling, we will get aligned with some of the slogas, some of the chapters. We will have a quick run of what we shared in the morning. In capsule from the 18 chapters. So which one is, appealing to us? Or that we will concentrate. When one is tormented due to inner struggles and confusion, born out of his attachment towards his body and his kith and kin, he approaches a teacher of high eminence and places all that is going on within him. Remove Arjuna from the scene. Remove Lord Krishna from the scene. We have the sense of individuality. Body, mind, intellect, equipment. With all its baggage. And the Lord, the activating, pulsating, motivating principle behind me, who is in the form of life force, who is in the form of awareness. So God He is there. Now, this is a dialogue between these two. We should approach Gita in this way. Then only we can eke out the maximum benefit out of it. Otherwise, as you said, we may not know Sanskrit. We may simply read out. It gives us some sentimental satisfaction, plus a reverence to the Holy Mother, Gita Ai. But if it has to become a part of my life, I must view it from this background. The teacher, through a comprehensive approach, convinces the deluded individual and prompts him to feel totally relieved from the mental stress. This is what Gita stands for. Now let us see what is the analysis. First chapter stands for every disturbance owes its origin to delusion. We are trying to find out. Every disturbance in our mind, the peace is disturbed. We try to diagnose first. Gita helps us to know that it owes its origin to delusion. Then the second chapter. Attachment can be got over by knowing the transient nature of the body means here sense of individuality, and its relationship with the world outside. Whatever I have defined the relationship with persons, objects and situations, they are all changing, constantly changing. This approach helps to recognize that everything is pre-programmed and that one should detach from the craving for the fruits of action. These are the main, when something happens, suppose we develop faith in the words of the Lord that everything is pre-programmed. And the second one is, we don't look up to the fruits of action. Morning we were sharing, for the sake of those who have not heard it, we will repeat that word. Pujya Swami Chimyanji Maharaj used to tell us, disappointments can come only to those who make appointments with the future. Do make appointments, not with the future, but with the present. What does it mean? Nice to hear a flowery expression. No. Future means, you expect. It doesn't happen, then you feel disappointed. It may be difficult for us to accept because our entire thought, word and deed are motivated or activated, oriented on this result. So we have to do a lot of manana to digest this. Which are the moments where we felt happy? What we have expected has come true. Which are the moments when we were sad and gloomy? That which had not happened. So it is difficult for us to understand. But now we try to understand what is long lasting. Whereas anyone who acts spontaneously for the welfare of others, there are many instances parading before us. They do just for the sake of that. No profit, no profit. So this approach helps us to recognize that everything is pre-programmed. Papa used to mention this, whatever happens is happening by the will of God. Whatever happens is for my ultimate good. The inquest of God is an expression of this idea. Entire submission to the will of God. No expectation. Zero expectation. We find when we go through inquest of God, we find these two are predominant there. That is why he did not feel disheartened, disappointed, dejected. Never, never, never. He walked all the way, to Tirupati. You remember? 700 steps in that extreme winter. But when he was denied the darshan of Balaji, never there was any regret. Never did he complain. There was no complaining or grumbling at any level. Throughout, the interest of God is defined. In Chidambaram he went. He was denied because he did not have 25 half of an anna of the 4 anna for the entrance fee. He did not say anything. Throughout in every chapter you find this, Gita, how he was making it a reality in Gita, making a reality of Gita in his life. Everything is pre-programmed. One should detach from the craving for the fruits of action. While involved in action, which is inevitable, what is needed is to bring in dexterity in it, that is, efficiency in it, and equanimity in our situation. Then follows the idealization of such a person as the person. So, second chapter is very important. The second and the 18th chapter has more than 70 slokas. Rest of the chapters, they do not have that. Quite exhaustive, If we go through, you will find that. Very important. Just like the 18th is very important, quintessence of the surrender aspect. Second chapter, it touches every aspect. Transient nature of the body and its relationship with the world outside. Everything is pre-programmed. One should try to detach from the cravings of the fruits of action. While involved in action, what is needed is to bring in efficiency in everything. Ranganathanji Maharaj beautifully says, protective efficiency without, inner character efficiency within. This is what Gita places before. By dexterity in action, he says, be active, dynamic. Everything you should do that. Bring out all the creative faculties God has invested in you. And then, at the same time, inner character efficiency. Then we move to the third chapter. When he says action which is inevitable, what sort of attitude I should maintain to move towards this state, Chita-prajna state, is to engage all activities with less and less of dominance of me and mine. Vinobaji puts it as karma yoga. He has named selfless and desireless action. Papa puts it as standards of free action. Norms, And then we move to the fourth. Every action should be done with a touch of love and dedication. Every action. Consciously doing. Not half-hearted, not absent-minded. You all remember when Vinobaji went to Gandhiji in Sabarmati Ashram. So they were exchanging a lot of letters. So Gandhiji said, all these things cannot be returned. If you are interested, you come to the ashram. So he went there. So many people were engaged in so many types of works, Somebody is drawing well, water from the well. Somebody is sweeping, somebody is cleaning, dusting, somebody is winnowing, Somebody is cutting vegetables, somebody is, bringing firewood. So he asked somebody, where is Bapu? The person who is cutting vegetable, he is Bapu. So he went, he was cutting like this. He looked up. I am Vinoba. He gave both the knife as well as the vegetables. Start. There was no other thought. There was no other thought. Even cutting of a vegetable, through that he was initiated, just like we say mantra initiation, Gita is introduced to him through this simple act, whole-souled activity. Naturally you will ask, what should be the size? How much I should do? Whether it is clean? Where will I put? Method is there. All these you will have, by just cutting the vegetable. You will start digging one by one. You may not know. But as you keep on cutting the vegetables and giving to the people who prepare the food or curry, you will learn this, A simple act of cutting vegetables, Fourth chapter says, whatever you do it with a touch of love and dedication. And love infused in every action. Very practical. Whether at home, or in the office, or with the society. Whether I am in ashram, whether I am in a temple, whether I am hearing the discourse, whether I am cooking, whether I am sleeping, wherever I am. Gita asked me to bring in this dimension. Whole-souled. A touch of love and dedication. Then we move to the fifth. When we do that, such an attitude will culminate in not becoming aware of the dedication and love infused in every action. It becomes natural. These are not new to us. Many of us will be doing all these things, but we have not brought in this dimension, that's all. Suppose something is needed, we do it not for name, fame, we do it for perfection only, no doubt. But we hardly think, this is what I can pay back to you. You have provided me a field just now. You made me to think about how to handle it. And you gave me the expertise. And you gave me the field. And I am doing it. If this is what Gita wants us to do. All of us are doing it. Many of us have been successful in our professional life, But at the end of it, what happens? We may not be deriving this joy, this fullness. By doing an action like that, we have done our puja. We have done our Ramnam. We have done our bhajan. We have done all anushthana. That is brought in. That is the fifth. And what is the fifth chapter? This approach can be sustained only through the control of the mind. This sort of attitude will become a reality only when we control the mind. Control the mind means what? Ekagrata, one-pointedness, moderation and regulation, equanimity and evenness in the outlook. Positive. We raise ourselves to a higher level, then only it can become positive. So this is the control of the mind. In anything that I do, there should be ekagrata, there should be moderation, there should be a regularity, and then finally equanimity and evenness. You kindly go back to your own life. You will find you have derived it, but you and I have not brought in the dimension of the God, dimension of the Almighty, presence of the Almighty there. Then comes the seventh chapter, Jnana-Vijnana. I may suddenly feel, I want to keep up all these things, but look at the varied manifestation. Everything is unique. I cannot apply the same standard for everything. How am I to see the one common denominator in all these diverse manifestations? This question comes every day, whether at home or in the office or with the society. When we handle men and matters, because of the diversity, wherever we have succeeded, at that time we may not know. Now we can go back and see we have risen above. The diversity was not a hindrance to us. We were finding something in the diversity, something that is common. So analyzing the cause of varied expression of the creation, it adds a push to the journey. Here love for the Lord, bhakti slowly creeps in. What all you have given. Right from morning, suppose I start thinking about it, the varied expression. If I am given daily idli, if I am given daily upma, if I am given daily one particular, I get bored, There is boredom, drudgery, Suddenly I realize, you don't wear the same dress. We want choices always, so God has given. See, we try to bring in the God dimension. That is how slowly bhakti comes. What all we are given. Different types of pulses, different types of vegetables, different types of persons, different types of situations. Assorted, Nowadays when you go and buy in the supermarket, previously, the people had a tendency to buy all the dry fruits separately. Now, then you have to mix, You don't take only badam. You don't take only cashew. Now, assorted, It is called assorted, Because you find, suddenly I realize, yes, I want variety. He has provided me the variety in everything. In language, in work. Just start analyzing, Papa wants us to go within with Gita teaching. To variety. And that variety, the more and more I delve deeper and deeper into the varied manifestations, I find His hand, His mercy, His love, His care for us. So that is why it says, analyzing the cause of the varied expression of the creation acts a push to the journey. Here love for the Lord bhakti slowly creeps in. And Vinobaji is the certain expression we have to repeat whether we are running time or not. He says, when we want to have a bath to cleanse our body, we use soap. Soap by itself cannot cleanse. We need water. Even without soap, to a very great extent we can clean the body. Bhakti is like water. I need not know Sanskrit. I need not know anything. I need not go through any ritual. All that I need is love for Him. Purest form of love. For all that He has given, He has been giving. Right from the moment He made me to come to this world, till this moment. Whether I acknowledge Him, whether I recognize Him, whether I express my gratitude towards Him, no. Whether I disregard Him, whether I deny Him, whether I, anything that is, in total disregard of my attitude, He keeps on giving me everything. This is the fundamental point in Bhakti. What all you have given, how beautifully you have designed this body, Inside, if I start looking, there is no end. Outside, if I start looking, the very language, Just imagine. Many of us enjoy bhajan, many of us enjoy, so many things. But it is all conveyed to us through a language. What all you have provided? How many languages? When I start going deeper and deeper into what all I enjoy, suddenly I find it is He who is behind everything. Unmindful of my total indifference towards Him. That is why in one of the prayers, Vimayananda used to say, I don't deserve to be saved. Yes, Lord, I am tired. Because I have not done anything to qualify myself. I have not risen up to the standard to which you expect me to do. But still you have not sidelined me. You have not treated me as a second type of citizen. You are giving me equally an accepted labeled devotee and me. Same facility, the saint and the sinner. All the facilities are same. Just imagine, what is real bhakti? Gita is teaching us. So analyzing the cause of varied expression of the creation adds a push to the journey. Here love for the Lord, bhakti slowly creeps in. Then we move to the 8. For the above trait, what is needed is knowledge of the supremacy of the Lord over everything that is and that is happening. I must keep on hammering, supremacy. Nowadays, everybody is probably, excepting the people who are staying in metro. Farming, for example. Every day we are seeing, each seed is sprouting. And each one gives its fruit in the form of leaves, in the form of fruit, with different types of taste. I don't use the same vegetable every day. If somebody prepares, I will ask, don't you have anything else? So 8 means we have supremacy. And then, here one more thing is added. Vinobaji brings in the word samskara. We should develop the samskara throughout. That means samskara means of knowing His supremacy. What all He has given. And if we do that at the time of leaving this body, we are freed from the cycle of birth and death. Antakalega mahameva smaran mukta kalevaram. So 8th chapter he gives this dimension. So supremacy and His all-loving nature for us, all-accommodating nature for us, in total disregard to what we have towards Him. If we keep on reminding ourselves about it, from morning till evening, whatever we handle, the net result is, we develop a samskara which stays with me. And at the time of leaving this body, I have only a heart of gratitude for Him. And then I have been assured by the Lord that I will have no more with you. I also understand, birth means limiting. Because the moment I am there, others are there. Absence of otherness is what is aimed at finally. So for that, the sense of individuality, the body, it carves a map for itself. So this is so easy. That is why he said at the time of leaving the body, what samskara we have in our mind, that is the provision we take for our next journey. When we leave for Bombay, when we leave for any other place, normally, at home we prepare. Suppose we are not used to whatever is available in the station. We prepare. We have a luggage. We have our dress. because that is the one which is going to take care of us throughout our journey. Similarly, when I leave this body and get into another body, then the journey, what is the provision that I take with me is my samskara. Suppose I develop God thought, God remembrance. Gita tells me, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudyasha. At all times and in all places, remember me and fight the battle of life. So, for the above sake, what is needed is knowledge of the supremacy of the Lord in 8, and in 9, by bringing in God dimension in every creation situation, the supremacy of the Lord is realized. And in order to give a boost to our efforts, the 10th chapter and the 11th chapter, called Vibhuti Yoga and Vishwa, cosmic vision. Not only the contemplation of God's manifestation, but also the vision of the cosmic form of God. It will be a wonderful journey for me. Previously, I was limiting myself to certain deities in the temple or gurus in some ashram. Beyond that, I was not identifying. Only I am there. And I stretch myself to everybody based upon my mind, me and mine, me and mine, me and mine. When we go through the 10th and 11th, the contemplation of God's manifestation and the cosmic vision, cosmic nature of it, suddenly, the sense of individuality knows. And from there, again, once we are not satisfied, if this has to become a reality, we have to bring in this value dimension in all our activities. Moral, ethical, spiritual values. They are contained in the 7-8 sloka. Advesha sarvabhutanam maitra karunayavada. Nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sudakshami. Santushta satatam yogi yadatma dridhanishaya mayakvida manobuddhihi yomat bhakta sametriya. Faith in God and values. Faith in God inside, values outside. This is the technique. When I understand the manifestation of Lord, varied manifestation, and when I try to develop the cosmic vision, still there are hurdles. My baggage does not permit me to hear a plan of action has been given to me. Faith in God within, values outside. It has been beautifully brought out. Ranganathanji's words are very, very, very thought-provoking. He says, it is not alright if we say, I am Papa's devotee, I am so-and-so devotee. No, they must say that he is my devotee. The Lord should say that he is my devotee. Suddenly we remember, we all say we are all Papa's devotees, Dilvat Papa's presence is not only confined to the bhajan hall and home mandir. He is not only all-pervasive in this holy Anand Ashram, but it lives and moves in and through us. We carry His presence when we adhere to truthfulness. We carry His presence when we are kind, considerate and compassionate. We carry His presence when we refuse to serve even 1 inch from the path of purity. We carry His presence vibrantly, dynamically, forcefully when we live our life in a divine manner with determination, humble intention, firm resolve and all sincerity and earnestness. When we are trying to pursue a divine way of living, in thought, word and action, we are manifesting the Dilvat Papa. We are a vibrant center, then and not now. We are a vibrant center of that which the world knows as beloved Papa Swami Ramdas. We become a lamp through which his light shines. We become the vessel to hold the living waters of his spirituality, his sublime spiritual teaching. Let us not therefore confine beloved Papa Swami Ramdas to the Bhajan hall, the Homa Mandir and Anand Ashram. Make yourself a vehicle of his living presence, so that by our life others also become awake and illumined. They feel his divine presence through our life, and their life is also divinized. We move amongst the world of men as the candle, imparting our light to anyone whom God brings us in contact with. So, ideal, the ideal which we remember when we remember Papa, we should not be limited to that form. It should become a part of my life. So that is why he says, by contemplating upon to get concretized in this faith in him coupled with a value-based life is a must. Otherwise it stays at the surface level. So I start under, that is why, in search of Papa, in quest of God, in the vision of God, at the feet of God, world is God. Papa was placed before us his comprehensive approach to spirituality. Not that I master those texts, but I must get the essence of those texts. Then only we will be able to feel that he is not only in ashram, he is everywhere. Puja Mataji, that is why he said, omnipotent Papa's ashram is the whole universe. To know that, he has set up this Anand Ashram. Anyway, we will get back to Bhagavad Gita again. So 12th is over. And then suddenly I realized there are still hurdles in me. So discrimination between the field and the knower of the field, Kshetra and Kshetra. I should do the splitting. I should do the discrimination. So that when I see a tree, when I see a laptop, when I see the specs, when I see the fan and the light, I must be able to see the power behind it. Kshetra and Kshetra. Knower of the field and the field. I must be able to distinguish. There also we list out all these values. How will I do that? Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Shanti, Arjavam, Acharyopasanam, Shaucham, Nityam Atma Vinigraham, Indriyarteshu Vairagyam, Anahankaram, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi, Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam, Asaktir Anavishvanga, Putra Dara Griha Adishu, Nityam Cha Samachittatvam, Ishtanishtopapatishu, Maidan Anni Yogena, Bhaktirabhya Vijarini. Like that, he keeps on listing. The technique to discriminate, to shift between the real and the unreal. The real behind the unreal. Sorry. Nothing is to be written off. But we add this. And from there we move to the 14th chapter. We also realize that we have 3 types of temperament every day. One is a sober outlook, Shanta. Another is super activity. Third one is indifference, dullness, laziness. If we observe, from morning till evening, morning we were sharing, something like this. If you see the angiogram report, it will be like this, When we read this, when we hear this 1 hour, everybody is happy. highly sattvic. The moment we step out, somebody says something, finished. What you know? So this is the hurdle we have. Immediately we lose our temper. We shout. Somebody shouts, we shout. Or we become dull, inactive. Not positive indifference, negative indifference. It's all right. So, cautioning us. Vinobaji has beautifully analyzed all this. How it should be tackled. How to tackle tamas, how to tackle rajas. And tamas and rajas are to be fully controlled. Rajas, sattvic, that also has to be controlled to some extent, because he says, otherwise the pride gets in, that I am sattvic. Finished. You are not sattvic. So this is elaborately discussed in the 14th chapter. And now comes the 15th. Constant hammering that the Lord is the only reality, and the sense of individuality realizes that everything is taken as an article of worship. Vinobaji's language, there are only three in this world. Me, the devotee. He, the Lord. Rest of the things are articles of worship, including my thoughts. Thoughts, words and deeds, objects and situations. All these are nothing but articles of worship. He says, it is alright if you spend half an hour or 1 hour in the morning and evening, if possible on Sundays, okay. It's okay, initially. Gita is not satisfied with it. Gita wants us to stretch it throughout, wherever we are. So that is the 15th, Purushottama Yoga. Those who have read Guru's Grace will remember, Papa asked Mataji to practice this Purushottama Yoga. Mataji writes that. All comprehensive. Because when she entered into that stillness state, she did not want to come back. Papa said, no. He is not only inside, he is also outside. Papa taught me to contemplate on him and his universal attributes all the time. It would be the work for the mind to chant Ram constantly. That would be the work of the tongue. And regard whatever I did with my hand, whatever movements my limbs had as his service. Do you read the Gita? Then you will understand what I mean. By dwelling mentally on him, you are doing Jnana Yoga. By chanting his name, it is Bhakti Yoga. By dedicating all your actions to him, Karma Yoga. When you do all things together, you will only be carrying out the injunction of the Gita. So that is the 15th. Now we come to the 16th. Again, I want to live up to all those things. Suddenly I find, it's not going, not moving. Some hurdle is there. In order to diagnose again this, the Lord is helping us to know the Devi Sampat and Asuri Sampat, the positive and negative forces in me. Because the more I concentrate on the positive, when I dwell my mind on the positive, by that process itself, I will be slowly deleting, getting myself freed from the clutches of this negative force. Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhi, Jnana Yoga Vedasi, Dhanam Damasya Yajnashta, Svadhyayastha Arjavam, Ahimsa, Satyam, Akrodam, Tyagam, Shanti, Avaishunam, Dayabudeshu, Aloluttam, Mardavam, Kri, Ataparam, Tejasu, Shama, Kriti, Shaucham, Adroho, Natimani. We keep on hammering. You and I definitely appreciate it when these things are in others. that time we appreciated and kept quiet. Now we start thinking, if I am appreciating that it should be within me, then only I can align with him, align with that. This is how the Lord is making us to become aware. 16th, elaborate. And then we come to the 17th. Vinobaji says we all owe our existence to 3 institutions. Mother Nature, society, and the sense of individual body. Otherwise we are not there. Mother Nature. We all need air to breathe, water to drink, earth to exist, space to move about. No? All this plant kingdom, vegetable kingdom. It's all a gift of Mother Nature. All the creature comforts have come from the society, including the language. And this body also should be there. Body, mind, intellect, equipment should be there. So these 3 institutions, every day we are taking the maximum out of it. So Vinobaji says we have to replenish. By bringing in creative attitude, creativity. Be the
light unto yourself, and in your own original way, manifest the magnificence and power of your enlightened life. Be highly creative.
Be highly creative.
And set free.
Enough. Be highly creative. This is how we pay back to the Mother Nature. We share a part of our earning, dana, to the society. The concept of tax, it came because of that. We have earned. It has been facilitated by the society, So we give a part of it. We need road, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. That has been provided by the government, So that is why the concept of parting with you, whatever you have earned. Dana. And we take out the maximum from the BMW. Body, mind, intellect, BMI. For that we give austerity, tapas. So, Yajna, Dana, Tapas is a payback to Mother Nature, society, and physical body. Beautifully mentioned, this is beautifully mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita as 3 types of Shraddha. Attentively doing, wholeheartedly doing all these 3 activities, paying back. Suppose we take a loan, we just pay it, keep quiet. No. It is not like that. With the Shraddha. 3 types of Shraddhatraya. That is what has been mentioned in the title. But it is really a payback. So up to, from the 2nd to 17, all these have been mentioned. And then we move to the last one, 18. So life should become, by paying back to Mother Nature through Yajna, to the society through Dana, and to the body through Tapas, which are the 3 kinds of Shraddha. Finally, all these will surely lead to total surrender to the Lord, who assures us to take care of both the inner and outer welfare. As Papa's devotees, all of us must have gone through in quest of God. Before the text starts, as soon as you open the first page, you will find this, sloga. What is the sloga? Sarvadharman parityajya. Ananya chintayantomam. Yedana paryupasate. Tesham nityabhyuktanam. Yoga kshemam vahamya. I take care of your both yoga and kshema, provided you have this ananya, exclusive faith. So here also he says, Sarvadharman Paritejya, Mam Ekam Sharanam Praja, Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshesha. This is how he closes in the 18th chapter. It's an assurance given to us. Leave everything and come to me, The sadhana becomes, here we add one more beautiful thing, Bhaji. When we reach this stage, sadhana is not separate. Whatever we have idealized, whatever we were striving to make it a reality in our life, it becomes a part of our life. Why? It becomes the life. So sadhana becomes the life. It is not that we try to do sadhana. Now we have a compartment inside, These are all sadhana, these are all my worldly life. That wall is demolished. That is why Vinobaji said, this is my message. Life message. So we started from confusion or disturbance, moha at the beginning. That is how it started. And ends in total surrender to him. Moksha Sanya. Now we will choose. When we hear this, we will choose. Which chapter I should go to? Everyone will intuitively feel that with which we have to align. Everybody will feel. Don't think we need any other knowledge. $700 slokas, 700, not 7, not 1, not 699. First chapter is called Arjuna Vishadeyo, meaning moha is the cause for it. 47 slokas are there. This is individual struggle, problems arising from attachment. Second chapter is called Sankhya Yoga, meaning illumination of the intellect. That's how Kapala defines it. There are 72 slokas there. Transiency of the body, inevitability of action, ideal way of living is being equipoised in all situations. Sita-prajna, the person who can understand the ideal and live his life in sync with the ideal. Number 3 chapter, Karma Yoga, standard of action. 43 slokas, selfless and desireless action. Number 4, Jnana Karma Sannyasa, knowledge of the Atman. Key to Karma Yoga, sense of agency is not there. Number 5, Karma Sannyasa. Papa gives lot of importance for this Karma Yoga and Karma Sannyasa, and Karma Yoga stands first. The superior way. 29 slokas. You have to choose now, And what is the akarma? We are not aware of that we have performed anything. It becomes spontaneous, that's all. We don't carry it over. And 6th is Atma Samyamam, called Dhyana Yoga. That means control of the mind. 47 slokas. 7th is Jnana Vijnana, knowledge of the lower and higher Prakriti. 30 slokas. Reason for the varied manifestation. Bhakti enables us to realize Him. Number 8, Akshara Brahman, the supreme and eternal Godhead. 28 slokas. Yoga of constancy. Sadhana for a happy end. I draw everybody to me provided I am remembered throughout. Number 9, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam, ultimate knowledge and secret. 34 shlokas, the sovereign signs of service to humanity, yoga of surrender. Number 10, Vibhuti Yoga, power of suzerainty, 42 shlokas, contemplation of God's manifestation. Number 11, Vishwarupa Darshan, vision universal, 55 shlokas, vision of the cosmic form of God. Number 12, Bhakti. There are two chapters in Bhagavad Gita where it is limited to 20 shlokas, and one is this 12. Path of devotion, 20 shlokas, Saguna and Nirguna Bhakti. Number 13, Kshetra Kshetrajna, field and the knower of the field, distinction between the self and the not self, 34 shlokas. Number 14, Gunatraya Vibhaga, nature of the three gunas, 27 shlokas, gunas developing them and going beyond them. 15, Purushottama Yoga, Uttama, 20 shlokas again. So 12 and 20 have 20. We now choose where to begin. Integral Yoga, seeing the Lord everywhere. Number 16, Devasura Sampat Vibhaga, divine and demonical qualities, 24 shlokas, conflict between the divine and demonical qualities. Number 17, Shraddhatraya Vibhaga, three kinds of Shraddha, 28 shlokas, program for the seeker. Finally is Moksha Sannyasa, renunciation and liberation, 78 shlokas. It tops the list in shlokas. 72 was there in the second, but here now it is 78, concluding. Renunciation of the fruit of action leads to the grace of the Lord. Life is not for sadhana. Sadhana should be the life. So this is how the Gita ends. On the Gita Jayanti day, so we are praying to Mother Gita. You have facilitated everything for us. Enable us to choose which part I should start with. Need not be in the chronological order. There is no chronological order. Because if we start with any one, it will lead to everywhere. That is the beauty of it. The same theme has been explained in so many ways, because we want variety, variety in approach. We don't want this as a dictum or a dogma. We want the facility to think, to analyze and to adapt. Because all of us are unique. All of us have different tastes, temperament, aptitude, inclination, different nature, different character. So we need variety, One thing cannot be imposed. So that is why through 18 chapters, I would say 17 chapters, all these things are placed before us. We choose one and then we try to enjoy everything. This is the message it gives. We again close this session with Prabhupada. The book that we have to thoroughly read and understand is our own heart. To help us in such reading, we have to frequently, daily, go through the grandest work, the Bhagavad Gita. Make this book your life's companion, and it will never fail you. Be a devotee, be a karma yogi, as set forth in the Gita. And there one more thing just wells up in our mind. Swami Ranganathanji, soothing. It's a soothing balm. We cannot be 100% yogis. 5% yogi, 10% yogi. Be a yogi. He says, Lord is whispering, Papa is whispering. Lord is whispering, Papa is whispering, be a yogi, be a yogi, be a devotee, be a devotee. If this is understood, we have understood Gita. Be a yogi, be a devotee. With this attitude, if I go to her, she will give me all that is necessary, suiting to my temperament, suiting to my inclination, suiting to my svabhava. This is the assurance all Mahatmas have given to us. So let us all pray to the Lord who has given this song celestial, and He has made an access, made us to access to the song celestial through this Gita Jayanti day. So let us all try our level best to become a devotee of the truest sense and a yogi of the truest. Hayo Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram